If that water wet, it's got gators in it.
Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the king, you best not miss.
They shouldn't have given you ashy blokes YouTube.
Cursed be the ground, for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are. And to the dust we shall return.
right? And for all those other folks out there, the people that want to go back and forth.
Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the king, you best not miss.
You best not miss, okay? Anyhow, something's been, God requested for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm kind of getting sick of it. But I did find something that actually made me want to do it. As a young brother, I think he's a former Hebrew Israelite. He's going over through Fraser's book and Du Bois's books and stuff like that. Some of the old historical stuff by the sociologists of that time. So that's what inspired me to actually do this one, okay? And just a small little clip. I mean, go back and watch the brother's whole thing on the black bourgeoisie. Very enlightening. Very enlightening. I would suggest it to anybody, but that's why I'm doing it today, because I really wasn't going to do this one because I've gone over the matriarchy and the gynocracy and all this kind of crap, man. Damn near my whole career on black YouTube. So to continue to go over it over and over and over again, man, it gets tiring. And just because somebody a new class clown comes through and wants to throw their opinions onto the deck without doing all the research, it's tiring. Okay. Anyhow, get busy. I'm listening. Batting first. Shannon batting second. Mel L batting third. Recent chat meeting man was triggering with this foolishness. I don't know why, man. You guys know. You guys can. You guys don't need me to actually. I have a whole playlist of all this crap, man. If you really want to go back and forth with Media Man, just send them to the playlist, okay? I got I can't count how many videos I have on this stuff, okay? Ken Seen Red, what's going on? Dame Digital, what's happening? Adric, what's going on? All you have to do is go back to the 2024 election where black men are trying to shame black men into voting for Kamala Harris. Okay? Get behind your women. Trail, what's going on? Instant Media, what's happening? Mark Muhammad, greetings. Shannon Sharp said last night on Nightcap, if Asia Wilson wins another championship, he'd rate her the best WNBA player ever. Agree, disagree? I would disagree. I put Cynthia Cooper and Candace Owens and even a couple of others over her. I wouldn't say she was. But everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's like the LeBron James versus Michael Jordan versus Kobe Bryant versus yada, yada, yada. Everybody has their own opinion. Has their own opinion because the last person that Asia Wilson wants to see is what's her name? Is Aaliyah Boston. Okay, Aaliyah Boston embarrassed her multiple times. Ricky, what's happening? Shannon Green, what's going on? LXT. Katsuyati. Okay. Tira, do you remember the time the top brass of Gynocracy came out of the hiding to attack Snoop Dogg? Oh, yeah, for Gail King, yeah. Yeah, yep, it sure did. Saint Seer, what's happening? Tooth Trib, what's going on? W Brizzle and Snoop caved. W Brizzle, what's going on? Don Calypso. Black America is not a de jure matriarchy, but definitely a de facto gynocracy, as is most of the West. Yeah, well, that's most of the West is a different argument. No sugar and spice, everything not nice. Black males, tunnel runner. Dirty Foot Jose checking in. Shade Tree Therapy, what's happening? Kenneth, what's happening? Eddie, what's going on? Oh, you talked about with May? I didn't mean for that to go on that long. I mean, 3 hours is much longer than I actually wanted to go on. I thought it was going to be maybe at best an hour, okay? I was just going to come on and do the show I'm doing yesterday, okay? The thing is, it kind of went way longer is because, talking to regular people, trying trying to teach regular people enough so they can make a cogent argument is very difficult. That's why I don't do it anymore. B-Roll, what's going on? Gary Grant, Quentin, Pirate Broadcaster, what's going on? Fernando's, Dr. Thunder, what's happening, Doc? Big Trick, Jesse, what's going on? Trust, what's happening? There's my Apple. So what's going on, Big Trick? Palm Beach Mike, J.E. Chaz, what's happening? Enigma, what's going on? I was going to call him Chaz the Professional. Sanddog said he got work for you, Charles. Scorpion Black, what's going on? Babu, Panda Man, what's going on? Luther, what's going on? Hurricane Greg, Melly Mel, Odingo, what's going on? Well, Odingo, well, good for you. Good for you. If you think it's offensive, good for you. I'm glad. Glad it offended you. I'm glad it got you to feel something. So message delivered. So I'm glad. Mr. Chick to you, Michael, what's going on? John Smith, what's happening? LAXT, what's going on? Federo, in the A-Town. Beaches, I know you got some tea for today's live. Man, the thing is trying to pick through all the stuff so I can actually condense it down into an hour. Man, I don't want to be here all day. Man, I got about 50 videos on this shit. Probably more. Trail, what's happening? The Freak, appreciate you. The taking these dusties back to step one tax. Inspired Truth, what's going on? Mr. Donnie Mack, Superstar J Quick, B Quaid, what's going on? Ben Porter, what's going on? KG Media Man taking a gaslighting approach to debunk this, and he's not logical in his definition of me. Of course he's not, man. But the thing is, I really I wouldn't even care what he said about it. But you guys are so in a Twitter about what he's saying. Okay, you guys, I don't know why he's upsetting you. To the Bitcoin, what's happening? Hey, my Waffle House King, what's going on, Lavaris? I knew this, man. You know what? You know, it's been 3 weeks, man. Every day somebody has bringing up BGS. You know, blah 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 and the matriarchy, blah 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 and the matriarchy, Media Man and matriarchy, yada 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 yada. I may do a reaction to it, but the thing is, I've done this so much that it's and if I hadn't found this brother's channel, I probably wouldn't be doing it. Fresh off work and into a BGS Productions, okay. Michael, what's happening? Tao, what's going on? Nurse Mac, how can the patriarchy overcome the matriarchy in the black community? You can't. The only thing you can do is, the only way a matriarchy is obliterated is when men leave, okay? All the matriarchies, you can't, because you don't have control of the children. So the only way to actually defeat a matriarchy or get rid of matriarchies is for the men to actually leave. And the matriarchy will die on its own. It always does. Big Mo, what's going on? I don't know. What if he won't listen? Don't talk to him. It's not your job to convince Media Man about the matriarchy. If he doesn't believe in it, he doesn't believe in it. Okay, you're not going to change his mind. Well, AR, what's going on? I think Cynthia Cooper is better than Cheryl Swoops, personally. Kenneth Young, what's going on? McGinnis J, what's going on? Candace Parker, yeah. Fast Attack, what's going on? Yeah, it doesn't matter. But the thing is, they get upset, man. I don't know why. just Trump just changed Letitia James. Okay. It's called Revenge. Okay. Did you think he was gonna let her go? Kareem, did you actually think he was gonna let her go? If you were president and you had went through what 4 months of trial or 6 months of trial and on bullshit charges and you got shot at and you finally got to be president, would you let it go? You can go back to 22 midterms. Like one saying Kevin, Savage, Tariq Nasheed, following dudes, uh, as if we don't have minds around. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I misspoke. Y'all know who I meant when I said Candace. The Hill gynocentric mindset. This shall be interesting. Negus. Uh, Deacon Brown unsubscribed from Media Man. He fumbled the ball. Yeah. I mean, you know, he's got his stance for his stance. So, and when people go off on tangents like that, I kind of really ignore them. EAW, what's going on? Mosfet. Delonte KK, what's going on? Indigo Flow. Dr. D, what's happening? Shannon Moore. Yeah, yeah. I mean, man, I've gotten what 10 people send me videos from him. But you just gonna respond to this? You see, UBS off a cancer assassin creed that would have taken place post-Civil War protagonist was a black man who was a former slave. That'd be interesting. They should do it. The pawns always go first. So we got anybody. Brother Dot, that's it, and Gundam. All right. All right, let's go ahead and get started, okay? Um, what 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 brought me to do this, God damn it, I'm clicking them off, okay. What actually brought me to do this was a brother that, former Hebrew Israelite, man. You know, Hebrew Israelites, there's some things I agree with them, some things I don't. But uh, he was reading out of Frazier's book about the black bourgeoisie and the black middle class, right? And he got to a section, and Frazier is big on talking about the black gynocracy or the black matriarchy. Okay, he's one of the first. Well, Du Bois was one of the first, and then Frazier followed that, and then a whole bunch of other people with Myrdal and all those other kind of folks actually chimed in, even all the way up to Clark and Moynihan. Moynihan got the idea of a matriarchy from Frazier and from Clark. Okay, that wasn't Moynihan's idea, and it has continued up until now, right? Even down to the 2024 elections, where they actually showed their ass. Okay, so we're gonna do this, and we're gonna get his brother a like. He probably doesn't need us because he's got plenty of subscribers. Well, no, he doesn't. He got 68K. Relatively new, former Hebrew Israelite, and he reads, which I like. Okay, and he's actually talking about the 1950s middle class, the black bourgeoisie, right? Okay, black middle class status, sports, self-hate, and submissive men. Okay, you see that? Okay, submissive men. Okay, this is historical. Okay, all those stats and all that kind of who earns what, blah blah blah, doesn't mean shit in a social order. Okay, doesn't mean squat. Even in a matriarchy. Okay, the women actually elected president. Okay, because the majority of the women in the majority of voters are in the United States are actually female. I think it's almost like 60%. Right? They elect the president. Okay. They elect who they want to be in office to represent them. Okay, same thing in the Native American matriarchies, right? Okay, the female council elected the chief, and also elected the representatives to represent them outside the village. So this shit's not new. Anyhow, let's go.
Very illegal. So this is the report that Dr. Frazier left behind, describing that time, which sounds absolutely crazy to hear about doctors being in the drug game, right? This is crazy. Okay, so now that we have that background, let's shift gears, and Dr. Frazier is going to provide us with some insight on the 1950s black family structure, right? And you're definitely going to want to hear this part. Here we go. In the South, the middle-class Negro male is not only prevented from playing a masculine role, but generally he must let Negro women assume leadership in any show of militancy.
I mean, this is Frazier, and this is in 1957. Okay, this is Frazier in 1957. He also actually had like 7 chapters on the black matriarchy in his book, The Negro Family, from the 1930s. So Frazier has been looking at this stuff since the 1920s. Frazier knows what he's talking about. Okay, E. Franklin Frazier knows what he's talking about. Okay, and this is the black bourgeoisie in the South, and this is not the lower class slave class. This is the middle class, the upper class and upper middle class black folks, the black bourgeoisie, right?
This reacts upon his status in the home, where the tradition of female dominance, which is widely established among Negroes, has tended to assign a subordinate role to the male.
Yep. In fact, he said that in his, in the book, The Negro Family. I actually went over this maybe years ago. I found some of it, but the thing is, it's too long to put it in an hour format. I could cut it up. But the thing is, I'm just trying to establish that we've gone over this stuff already, right? And I'm not the only one.
And this is another part of black consciousness. It includes women running the house and the men being submissive to the women, right? As the standard.
Yes.
Right? Like he said, well,
as the standard, right? Okay. Some people said, my home life is patriarchal, right? Okay. The way my house, if that black woman agrees to actually submit to that form of a family, okay, that's cool. Okay, you don't have no problem with it, right? Okay, but if she changes her mind, she always has the power. You don't. Black men think they had the power because she submitted to them. She has the power. You have the power that she gave you. Just like a black man with a white wife, okay? That white wife has to submit to you, okay? But you don't have the power, okay? You're 3 digits away from your life ending if that white woman picks up that phone and makes that call. In this system, black men do not have that power. Black men do not have the power to force a patriarchy. We don't. And every time people jump up and think that we do, the black women beat that shit back down because they have too much backing. There's too many people entrenched in making the black male subordinate.
Well established within the Negro community. And I feel bad for both the masculine woman and the feminine men who find themselves in this type.
See, I don't like that. I don't like that term about masculine women and feminine men. Okay, the men aren't feminine. Okay, the men are basically like Tommy Curry says, man-nots. They're eunuchs. Okay, for the most part, they're servants. That doesn't mean that they're feminine.
Type of relationship, because they both live a very frustrated life, both of them. And later on in other videos, we can do some lessons for the men to make sure that you never end up in this type of relationship, because ultimately it's up to you, right? It's up to you.
Not really, okay? Ultimately, it's up to you. If you want to stay in this system, that's how come brothers, when they leave out into a traditional society, okay, they notice a difference instantly, okay? Instantly. They notice a difference, okay? Oh, shit, okay? I've been living in a gynocracy my whole life until you actually get to a patriarchy, okay?
You to develop yourself in such a way that allows a woman to feel comfortable expressing her feminine nature with you.
Bullshit.
But it starts with the man. And yes, there are a whole bunch of
Comfortable with expressing her feminine nature. That's bullshit. I hate that bullshit, okay? Women aren't. If that was the case, Aisha Curry would be the most feminine chick on the planet. So would Michelle Obama, okay? So would Jada Pinkett. They'd be the most feminine people on the planet. Are they? No.
masculine women in America, right? But there's also a whole bunch of feminine men who balance out the equation. And a feminine
No, there is no patriarchy in America. Really, there's no patriarchy in the West, for the most part. But that is a philosophical discussion, and I am not about to go through that right now. Okay, me and Dr. Gigi talked about that like 4 years ago. There's all kind of articles and yada yada yada. Man, I don't feel like going through that shit right now. Okay, I feel like going through that shit. We just focusing on this. Tunnel runner can tell you the difference between the tunnel runner who's married, who's a patriot, married to a traditional woman in a traditional society, can tell you that what goes on in Black America is not a patriarchy; it's a matriarchy. He can tell you that. Okay, tunnel runner can because he's seen both sides. Tunnel runner can tell you that.
man is someone who's always complaining, arguing, has no emotional control, easily agitated and angered, right? Has minimal ambitions and goals, no purpose, right? No self-improvement, always blaming, and always waiting for someone to come and do something for them. And a woman is never going to respect someone that's like this, right? And so being
she's not gonna respect. No, she's not gonna respect you. Okay, but that's not the point. From a military standpoint, it's ingenious. The black one's most effective weapon with the white man ever devised. Black woman knows it and consciously, but no, she knows it. It's not even unconscious. What countries have a patriarchy? A definite patriarchy: Greece, Japan, Malaysia, China, Korea, Mozambique, Saudi Arabia, yada yada yada. You want me to keep going? Those are hardcore patriarchies, okay? Saudi Arabia is a hardcore patriarchy, yes. Iran is now. It didn't used to be.
masculine is one of the ways that she expresses that frustration with the man. But this
Just because you have a woman ruler doesn't mean shit, okay? Okay, basically, Japan is a father-led, father-led patriarchy. Okay,
could all change, right?
Ask the wives. Okay, ask the wives. Ask the women. Who's in control?
I promise you, this could all change. But those other things, they have to be worked on first. But let's continue reading. In fact, in middle-class families, especially if the husband has risen in social status through his own effort and married a member of an old family or a society woman, the husband is likely to play a pitiful role.
Yeah, that's true.
The greatest compliment that can be paid such a husband is that he worships the wife, which means that he is her slave and supports all her extravagances and vanities.
Yeah, and that's why Dr. Johnson came up with the word concuserve. Okay, what are black men valued for? Right? Okay, their labor. Okay, how much he can actually give to the woman, and his sex. Right? Okay. If you listen to a black one about dating, it's not where he's respected, or how smart he is, or how accomplished he is. It's how much money can I get from you? And can you blow my back out? The two dichotomies, okay? Dick and deference, right? Okay. Hell, look. Does it sound like Michelle Obama respects Barack? Does it? Does it sound like Aisha Curry respects Steph?
which is absolutely ridiculous if you ask me. Let's continue. But, of course, many husbands in such positions escape from their frustrations by having extramarital sex relations. So here we go with the cheating. Let's continue. Yet the conservative and conventional middle class husband presents a pathetic picture.
Yep, as Fraser's been saying it. Monahan said the exact same thing. And white women who actually earn more, okay, and actually cow their husbands are finding out the exact same thing, right? Okay, how come when she makes more money and she makes her husband a second-class citizen or a child, guess what he does? He proves his manhood, goes out and does what? Cheat, right? Right? Well, anyway, continuing.
He often sits at home alone, impotent physically and socially, and complains that his wife has gone crazy about poker and society and constantly demands money for gambling and expenditure.
Who's running the house, right? Okay, this is so-called the 1950s black patriarchy, right, of middle class, right? And these are not poor people, okay? These are not sharecroppers, okay? You can expect it down with the sharecroppers, right? These are not poor people. These are upper middle class black bourgeoisie, right? The town of the tenth, as we say. A state-sanctioned and state subsidized black gynocracy, the further back you go, the more evidence you find, it's harder and harder to ignore. It's been that way. The thing is that, but the thing is, that's what I don't like, man. You have all this evidence, all this history, all this documentation, right? And because the way, and because the way I feel, and I'm gonna say this why Medium Man in his feelings, I feel that I'm a patriarch, and and basically being a patriarch is a choice. Bullshit. Okay. No, it's not a choice, okay? You don't live. A patriarchy is a system, okay? It's a system of society. I live in a gynocracy, right? My whole family is gynocratic, okay? And I bump heads with them all the time. But thinking, at some point, you got to know what power you have, what power you don't have, right? Okay? Because you got, when it's 15-1, okay? 15-1, and the guys have been trained to submit to the gynocracy. Okay, in fact, I pointed it out. Right, if you see a bunch of men and women together, right? Okay, the women do all the talking. They do all the talking. They talk over the men, and when they ask the men a tough question, they bow their heads. Okay, and they get quiet. Okay, the white men don't do that shit. The white men don't do that shit. The white men are not going to allow that white woman to over talk him all the time. He's not. Anyhow, continuing. Matriarchy, you lost before you show up to family court. Yes, true. I mean, Passport OG can tell you that Japan, no matter what you think, is a patriarchy. Okay, it is a father-led patriarchy. That's how come the out of wedlock birth is so low. Any place in any modern society where the out of wedlock rate is low, that's a patriarchy. Because if you have a baby out of wedlock in a patriarchy, you're on your own, baby. You can check them, but thing is, you can check them all you want. But thing is, you don't have the power. Okay, because they just ignore you and go around you and do whatever the fuck they're gonna do anyway. Okay. Yes, you do.
Which he cannot afford. Sometimes he enjoys the sympathy of a son and daughter who has not become a socialite. Such children often say that they had a happy family life until mama took to poker. They spend large sums of money on their children for toys and especially for clothes. They provide their children with all.
What I ask you, okay? This is 1957. What has changed? This is the 1950s, okay? What has changed? I'm asking you, what's changed? I don't know. You tell me. What's changed? Y'all have more rights and more sway. Looking at you, Naomi Osaka. Ooh, Naomi Osaka, man. She committed class suicide in Japan, man, by doing that shit, man. Uh, yeah, yeah. You know how much money Naomi Osaka lost by having that baby out of wedlock? How much money she lost? You know, Naomi Osaka was a goddess in Japan before she had that baby. And by a black dude on top of that, my goodness, man. In a father-led society, oh, shameful. I'm back. What you missed is called. They have a playback button for reading, rude boy. I mean, the thing is, you see all these famous black women are doing the exact same shit, man, having babies out of wedlock because that's the thing to do, and they blame us. Yeah, she lost $1 billion easy. Yeah, 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 she did. But anyway, continuing. But that's a different. But in a black community, being a baby mama they're upheld, right? Emily K. Waves don't mind being a single mother, right?
Automobiles when they go to college. And here's why they do it. All of this is done in order that the children may maintain the status of the parent and be eligible to enter the social set in Negro colleges. It's a status symbol. That's what many blacks were about back then.
And they still are.
And that's what many blacks are still about today, right?
Yes.
And that's a major part of black culture. Let's continue. When they send their children to northern white colleges, they often spend more time in preparing them for what they imagine will be their social life than in preparing them for academic.
See all those pictures? See all those pictures, okay? A black women going to school, okay? In the sororities, okay? This is not new. If you go back and look at it about college rates and black women being in college, it's always been the case, okay? White women just got on board, crossed over where they had more white women in college than white men in the 1980s, okay? But this has always been the case for black people. Going all the way back to emancipation, there's always been more women in college than men for black people, okay? It's not new. Ratchet harlots, hoes, okay?
academic requirements of these institutions. And when you understand this, it points to one of the many reasons why blacks score the lowest on many of the tests, right? They have a culture that they have developed that places a much higher value on social things rather than studying, right? And
that's because what is more important to women, right? Status and social things, right? My grandson, they love the hell out of him because he sings and dances, right? Okay, that's social. Okay, the women cling to him, man. That's why I told my daughter, okay, you need to get him some condoms, okay, so he don't get nobody pregnant because they coming. He's 13 and they coming. And unless you want to be a grandson or a grandson when your son is like 15, 16 years old, you better start getting him condoms and have him use them because it's somebody gonna get to him. Okay, so one of these chicks is gonna get to him.
we all know this. Let's continue. Sometimes they may project upon their children their own frustrated professional ambitions. But usually, even when they send their children to northern white universities as part of their social striving within the Negro community, they seem to hope that their children will have an acceptance in the white world which has been denied them.
Yeah, well, that's been you got to remember the black bourgeoisie, especially the southern black bourgeoisie, right? Okay, those are offspring. Most of them are actually offspring of the slave master. Okay, and they were actually rejected from being white. During Plessy versus Ferguson, right? They're actually rejected. They're actually thrown out of the white class, and thrown back in the black class, which even now they're upset about. Okay, even today they're upset about. And like Frankie Lyman, y'all ain't shit. Anyhow, let's get into this one. Okay. Oh man, let me play this, okay? Just the beginning of it, okay? Because I put this clip up front on, I probably have to cut it out, okay? But This is from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, right, with the Jim Hadar, right? And this explains what the gynocracy is versus black men, right? Let's see if I can, okay, let's just go ahead and play the whole clip, okay? I forgot about this, man. If you ever want to know, explain the black gynocracy, right? And how black men see the black gynocracy, right? Okay? This clip will explain it, okay?
Circumstances would serve no purpose. I'm prepared to offer terms. Hear me out. I know you need more Tetracell White. My doctor can sedate your men and keep them alive until we're rescued. After that, we can put you in medical stasis until we secure a new supply.
The Vorta did not give me the option to surrender.
Keeban's betrayed you. He gave us your entire plan of attack last night.
It was obvious that approaching your position from this canyon was a deliberate tactical error on his part.
You knew?
I suspected. Despite what Keeban may think, the Jem'Hadar are often one step ahead of the Vorta.
You can still stay one step ahead. Surrender.
I have my orders.
Keeban doesn't deserve the unwavering loyalty you're giving him.
He does not have to earn my loyalty, Captain. He has had it from the moment I was conceived. I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Do you really want to give up your life for the order of things?
It is not my life to give up, Captain. And it never was.
Ooh. Oh, that is so good. That's the coldest line of describing the black gynocracy I have ever heard, okay? It's the order of things, right? Okay? It's not black men, a lot of black men believe it's not my life to have or to give, right? And it never was. A lot of black men believe that shit, okay? My duty is to save these hoes, okay? And if I have to give my life to do it, I'm willing to do that, okay? In other words, black men have given black women their loyalty from the day he was fucking born, okay? From the day he was born, okay? She ain't got to, she does not have to earn our respect, okay? Okay, she has had our respect from the day she was fucking born, okay? No matter what she does. Doesn't matter. I would love to say the majority of black men don't feel that way, but unfortunately they do, okay? That's how come they don't like the black manosphere because they believe in that shit, okay? That's how come when you see women go off and start barking at you, you see black men put their heads down, okay? That's how come black women can't stand me. That's how come I could never be married. I am not going to put my fucking head down for nobody, okay? I had to do it with my mother because that was my mother, okay? I had to keep my mouth shut. When I got grown, guess what? I turned 21. That shit was over. I ain't got to do that no more. My thing, I was never going to allow any woman I was with to talk to me like that, okay? Ever. So my mother did it because she had that power because I was a kid. Once I became a man, that shit was over, okay? But most guys don't feel that way. Anyhow, but that is the coldest description, okay, that I've ever seen of the black gynocracy, okay? The coldest description I've ever seen. If that doesn't encapsulate the black man and the black woman and the power dynamic, nothing will, okay? Black women have never had to earn shit, okay? Our loyalty, our respect, basically our fealty, okay? We bow down to them. They bark and we jump, okay? They say jump, we say how high. And then when you jump to the moon, just like Barack Obama and Steph Curry, okay, the moon's not enough. You didn't jump high enough. Just like in the airport, okay? Which Sha'Carri Richardson, right? Okay, he was trying to fucking she attacked him multiple times and threw shit at him, right? Threw her headphones at him, which a white man had to call. He wasn't gonna call. A white man saw the disrespect. He called the cops, okay? And what'd he do? It wasn't that big a deal, right? He's trying to protect her. But that white man put the cuffs on him because even though it's really not a patriarchy anymore, they still operate under those rules. A lot of those rules, right? Even white women do, right? And I say, BJ said more. That's what happened when I had my son. I made my mother cry to her mom. And my great auntie, they put her in her place and said, I have my wife's side of the family. Play nice with your son. Yeah. But then you stood up for yourself, okay? Let's go. Man, I got so much of this stuff, man. Remember, they hate men. They hate men with standard strength. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Okay, let me get into this one. Man, this is old. We'll try. I'm trying to put stuff up with documentation, right? Okay. This is gonna be Clark's book, Dark Ghetto. Okay. We're talking about the black matriarchy in the black community. Okay. This is Dark Ghetto, Pathology of the Ghetto. Okay. All this stuff that I'm putting up for the most part is in my is in my playlist. Okay, my Gynocracy playlist. Okay.
One about
Speed it up a little
Negro
bit.
women and white men later. But we're going to deal with right now the Negro matriarchy and the distorted masculine image. Okay, something I found kind of interesting. Sexual hierarchy has played a crucial role in the structure and pathology of the Negro family. Because of the system of slavery in which the Negro male was systematically...
If this is too fast, y'all let me know.
...used as a stud, is something that Tommy Curry has said. And the Negro family primarily used for the purposes of breeding and for, wait for it, gratification of the...
The concubine. All these guys, these pookies, piping these women down, right? You know it's even worse, right? With the T app, right? Guess who the biggest group of women actually screwing the same guy? Black women, right? Okay, because they all have the same concubine. And the black men think I'm respected, I'm the man, I'm the patriarch because I'm piping all these women. No, you're not. Okay? No, you're not. You're a concubine. Okay? Same thing with these dudes, like these rich dudes having multiple babies by multiple women, right? You're an annuity. If you offer them enough money, yeah, they're gonna have your baby.
White male. The only source of the family continuity was through the female. The dependence of the child was on his mother. This pattern, together with the continued post-slavery relegation of the Negro female to menial and subservient status, has made the female the dominant person in the Negro family. Psychologically, the Negro male could not support his normal desire for dominance.
I mean, I don't, maybe medium man is a PhD in sociology. Maybe medium man, has actually gone and done the studies. Maybe medium man is much smarter than the rest of us, okay? Maybe he is. Perhaps. Maybe he's much smarter and more prominent than Dr. Clark. Or maybe he's much more prominent and more well-written than Dr. Frazier, okay? Or even Moynihan, okay? Moynihan went to fucking Harvard, okay? Where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to school? And he wasn't the only one. There's a whole bunch of people that actually wrote this shit, okay?
For the most part, he was not allowed to be the consistent wage earner. He could not present himself to his wife and children as a person who had the opportunity or ability to compete successfully in politics, business, and industry. That's what black women call building. This stuff is not new. His doubts concerning his personal adequacy was therefore reduced. He was compelled to base his self-esteem instead on the kind of behavior that tended to support a stereotyped picture of the Negro male. Sexual impulsiveness, irresponsibility, verbal bombast, posturing, compensatory achievement in entertainment and athletics, particularly in sports like boxing, in which athletic prowess could be exploited for the gain of others.
Basically, what do you still see, right? Basically, what do you still see in the black community? Has it changed? Okay, who's more revered, that Ben Carson or LeBron James? Okay, in a black society. Okay, you have black billionaires. Okay, worth a lot of money that's not as revered as an athlete, as a lower tier athlete. Okay.
Doesn't that sound like Future? The Negro male was therefore driven to seek status in ways which seemed either anti-social escapist and socially irresponsible. The pressure to find relief from his intolerable psychological position seems directly related to the continued high incidence of desertions and broken homes in the Negro ghetto. This is where we're talking about the lower classes and the pathology. And where it comes from, I've been saying since I got on here, really since you did the Money Report, this is where it comes from. It comes directly from slavery. I don't know how many of your scholars have to tell you the connection. This is not new.
The desertion is basically, it's not psychological. It's the women are driving these men out. I can tell you, man. Okay. I can tell you, if you're in a gynocratic situation, that's another reason I never got married. If you're in a gynocratic situation, okay, then either you get broken by it or you get the fuck out of it. Okay. Very few men actually rise above that gynocratic situation. Okay, either you rebel against it or you get broken by it.
This is not new. Like, we never heard this before. Slavery was so long ago. They knew this back in the 60s. Frazier knew it back in the 30s. Du Bois knew it back in the 1800s. It's not new. The Negro woman, in turn, that's where the strong black woman comes from, been required to hold down the family together, set goals, stimulate and courage to protect both black boys and girls. Not really. Her compensatory strength tended to perpetuate the weaker role of the Negro male. Negro boys had the additional problem of finding no strong male father figure upon which to model their own behavior.
Yeah. I mean, Terrence Crawford. Hell, Ebony K. Williams did not know who her father was until he was until she was like in her 30s. Okay, this shit ain't new. Okay, shit ain't new. White men would not go for this kind of crap. Okay. White men raise holy hell about a big percentage of white single mothers. Okay, white women do too. Okay, white women will not stand for a marriage rate of 27%. Okay, they wouldn't stand for it. The reason that your divorce rate is so high at over 50%. It's not because of white women. White women's divorce rate is about between 35 and 40%, right? Guess where the biggest portion of divorces come from? 80% in the black community. 80%.
Perhaps one of the reasons for the prevalent idea among marginal Negroes is that it is not masculine to sustain a stable father or a husband relationship with a woman.
Ask Deion Sanders about the Gynocracy, right? And what he had to go through with his 2 wives, okay?
Establish temporary liaisons with a number of different women with no responsibility. And this is what he's talking about. This is actually in the lower classes. It's the so-called lower classes, right? Which has become pathological in all the classes. You see this in all the classes now. The marginal young Negro male tends to identify his masculinity with you can't make this shit up, right? Cannot make this shit up. The marginal young Negro male tends to identify his masculinity with the number of girls he can attract, the high incidence of
boom, okay? Boom. Has that shit changed? As they said, are you not entertained? Are you not fucking entertained? Okay, this one was in 1957. This is 1965. Okay, this is 60 years ago. What the fuck has changed? Even amongst the black males, what's changed? You tell me.
Legitimacy among Negro young people reflects this pervasive fact.
Said facts. I remember how black women came after Robert Johnson for daring to give scholarships to black men and boys so that we could be less dusty. Yeah, they went after him with a vengeance, man. With a vengeance, okay? Just like they go after a black man for marrying a white woman with a vengeance, okay? That's why they go after passport bros. That's what called passport cis patty rollers, okay? They're trying to bring back escaped slaves. They go all the way down to Panama and Colombia and Thailand to bring you back, okay? The sisterhood says we have escaped slaves in these countries. Can you volunteer to go bring them back in, reel them back into the gynocracy?
Not only young, they're not only young now, okay? In this compensatory distortion of the male image, masculinity is therefore equated with the alleged sexual prowess.
Yes.
Yes, how come a lot of people get offended when I say that you're a concubine?
Yes. The same song gets remixed over the years, right? In fact, it's been remixed so much, man, it's become a meme.
And I always say that a lot of black men look at their masculinity through the lens of what? A woman's vagina.
Yes.
Can you please?
Yes.
Can you lay, bid, and be a stud or concubine to a black woman?
Yes.
There's only three places in the gynocracy for a black male. Okay. Child is one. Okay. But the other two, the ones we focus on, is either concubine or a resource or provider. The protector is a different animal. That's all matriarchies. But in the black community, either concubine, sexual partner, or provider. That's where you get the dual mating strategy. That's the dual mating strategy that we talk about. That's literally the Russell Wilson versus Future argument that we talk about. It's right there. What they call Russell Wilson, the provider male, right? He is the archetype for the provider male, right? And Future is the archetype for the concubine. Okay, they're describing him right here. This is I'm not talking about Future himself, right? Because I'm sure behind that mask, behind all the other crap that he does to get attention, I'm sure Future's a middle-class guy. The thing is the image and archetype that Future presents versus Russell Wilson's archetype.
Rude boy, answer your own question, man. You see it every day. I don't have to ask me, okay? Trust your own eyes, okay? What do you see? What do you see when they go after the passport bro? Don't go after the white boy, do they? As far as passport bro, white boys basically pronounce passport bros more than black people do. White women don't go after them, do they? It's only the black ones. Why is that? The dual mating strategy also explains swirlers, divestors, and pink pillars to the letter. Yeah. Well, that is part of it, but that's also a different dynamic.
This old battle for the black community is not new. It's not new. It's been around for a long time. This is when Clark actually talked about this, and this is what Moynihan actually put in this.
Well, basically, the book was published in '65, so you can say '63 if you want to. Okay. Well, I'm showing a very consistent thread because Frazier said this in the 30s. Okay. He also said it in the 50s. He said, and Clark said in the 60s. Okay. Moynihan said it in the 60s. Okay. But the book that I scanned, okay, because I bought the book, okay, 65.
Paper. You go back to Clark. Clark was doing this stuff in the 40s. Clark came up with the doll test in the 40s.
Yes.
Not the 50s, not the 60s, the 40s. In fact, I'm going to have to do a video on the paper about Kenneth and Mamie Clark's doll test, the doll study. The middle-class girl is able to resort to abortions, or she gives birth secretly, surrendering the child for adoption. Okay, that's closer to what white people used to do.
In fact, abortion was actually offered to black women first.
Yeah, they got wedlock. In the case of marginal young people or the upwardly mobile Negro, what contraceptive ideas he has are unreliable, and rarely does the girl participate in protection, in part because it is taken as a sign of masculinity for the black male to supervise such matters. Illegitimacy among these groups, therefore, is a consequence in large part of
Sorry about the audio.
Poverty. What did the studies still say today, right? Black women use contraceptive the least, okay? And black men use condoms the most. This stuff is not new. It's still with us. History still has its bar short hairs. People say, oh, that was so long ago. It's still with us. Here's also something. This is also the EL versus the street Negro wars, right? The middle-class Negro fears he will be identified with the Negro masses from whom he has escaped or tried to escape. And sex is the focal point of anxiety. The middle-class girl is often so rigidly protected that normal sexual behavior is inhibited, or she learns to be sophisticated by the use of contraceptives. For her, as for white middle-class girls, sex is tied to status and aspiration. She wants to make good marriage to white women might even be available. Okay, here's another clue. Person-to-person relationships are for many a compensation for society's rejection. They are, in a sense, forced to be quite elemental in their demands, and sex becomes more important for them than even they realize. They act in a cavalier fashion about their affairs, trying to seem casual and cool, but it is clear nonetheless they are dominated by the complexity.
Well, that's how come they're talking about Aisha Curry. That's how come the whole phase right now is such a big thing, right? Okay, status is their cavalier attitudes about sex. So basically, the technical pathology has reached its highest level, all the way up to the, say, like the Aisha Currys and the Michelle Obamas. Okay, it's reached all the way up there.
Of their needs. The girl, like the boy, has no illusions. Unlike middle-class girl who believes or demands that each relationship should be forever and tries to hold on to the boy, marginal Negro lower-class girl is realistic about the facts of her situation. Nor does she expect to hold on to the boy. Sex is important to her, but it is not, as in the middle-class society, a symbol of status to be used to rise to a better family or higher income bracket. The marginal Negro female uses her sex instead to gain personal affirmation. She is desired, and that is almost enough.
Well, you cannot make this shit up, man. This shit has not changed, okay? This shit has not changed. People say this is history. It doesn't mean nothing. It's old, blah, blah, blah. The shit has not changed, okay?
Relationship, whatever its social and psychological limitation, is pure in the same sense as innocence. That is, it is not contaminated by other goals. For her and for the boy, sex is time contained with its own intrinsic worth and value, not animal in its expression, but related to the urgent human need for acceptance. It is sophisticated but not primitive. That's called attention. Why do you think black women especially, and increasingly white women, looking for attention because of this anxiety, because of the perceived psychological limitations, are thoughtened. That's what the BBLs are for. That's what the breasts are for. That's what all this freaking makeup is for on social media. Okay, this is compensatory. This stuff is not new. We recognized this back in the 60s. This is the lower class pathology, the ghetto pathology that is permeated the society. This innocent sophistication includes the total acceptance of the child if a child comes. In the ghetto, the meaning of the illegitimate child is not ultimate disgrace. There is not the demand for abortion or for surrender of the child that one finds in more privileged communities.
And basically, and this is what the same pathology, right? Okay. Now, in the old days, okay, even the old-fashioned matriarchy, right? It brought shame to the family to have a baby out of wedlock, okay, especially a young girl, okay. They sent her away, even though the baby was brought back. The baby and child was actually brought back, but they sent her away. Okay, they had a baby someplace else and not bring shame to the family. But thing is not. But nowadays, in the modern black gynocracy, don't mean nothing.
In the middle class, the disgrace of illegitimacy is tied to personal and family aspirations. In lower class families, on the other hand, the girl only loses some of her already limited options by having an illegitimate child. She is not going to make a better marriage or improve her economic and social status either way. On the contrary, a child is a symbol of the fact that she is a woman, and that she may gain from having something of her own. You hear that? You've heard that in Promises I Can Keep, a book study about single mothers in Philadelphia, the bulk of them black and brown. Nor is the boy who fathers an illegitimate child going to lose. For where is he going? The path to any higher status seems close to him in any case. He actually wrote a second book that actually highlighted exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to get to one more piece. Because I'd probably be here for 4 or 5 hours just going over this shit, okay? We'll go this for 4 or 5 hours just going over this shit, okay? That is a description of black gynocracy. I actually want to play one more piece about I want to play one more piece saying what a gynocracy actually is, okay? See if I can find it. Da 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 da. Okay, this is actually from a book, actually from the mothers, okay. Dr. T. MLK said the same thing. But basically, you can't. I mean, there's so many people that say the exact same fucking thing, man. Okay, and what I don't like in the black community, we don't like to read. But you go to fucking uh, um, if you have to go to AI or Chat GPT has to win your argument, you've already lost. Okay, because that means you haven't studied, you haven't read, you're too lazy. Okay, not in this discussion. Okay, gynocracy. Okay. So basically, so the demon Aunt Jemima is going to show up. But this is the last one. This is Brifolds, okay, the mothers, okay. He's considered to be the expert on matriarchies, okay. He wrote this. Brifold wrote this back in the 1910s, I think it was, maybe even the 19th century. I'm not quite sure, but I think he wrote this in 1910, okay. This this is this is the go-to for the definition of a matriarchy, okay? And I'm just gonna play a little bit of this because we're already over an hour, and I don't want to hold you guys too long. So I'm gonna speed this up a tad bit. Once already at 125. So, and if it's too fast, let me know. I'll play maybe 15 minutes of this. Like I said, all this stuff is in my playlist, Gynocracy. This is woman's role in a matriarchy, okay? If you want to go to my playlist, Gynocracy playlist, and look that video up, this is where this will be. And this one is like 40 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing.
PK and others and Amiri will take a paragraph and base their whole argument off a paragraph instead of reading the whole work and then maybe highlighting the paragraph. So that means when they argue and they want me to argue or me to explain it, that what it really means is they want me to do the work for them. And I got more than enough to do than trying to research for everybody. Unpaid research did that. This shit is time consuming. It's headache inducing. And just because you're up on a panel and you want to debate something, that's fine. You can give your opinion. I disagree, but okay, do you disagree, but based on what? Well, I just have an opinion. Fine. Okay, you gave your opinion, but your opinion's wrong according to this, and this. But I still disagree. I don't care whether you disagree. Cite your sources because you're debating. You're not just talking. You're debating. I think. Okay, this is what you think. Back it up. Where'd you get it from? Anyway. Okay. This is from The Mothers by Robert Brifold, printed in 1931. Okay.
31. Okay.
In this particular paragraph, this particular chapter, chapter 7, and this is an excerpt. He actually, this particular book, he actually condensed his sections from the Matriarchy because I think Brifold's whole work is 3 volumes. I think it's like maybe over 1,000 pages, of which, trust and believe, I have not read the whole book. I got half of the book. I got part 1, man. Part 1 is like 400 pages. So unless you're really into this, I would say I wouldn't endeavor it because it's not a light work. It's not a light work. But we're going to endeavor this. We're going to humor this. We're going to humor some people. Okay, the position of women in matriarchal societies. The fact which we have considered appears to prove that the predominance of the male as husband and father, which characterizes historical patriarchal societies, did not exist originally in the constitution of human social groups, but is a result of comparatively advanced social conditions.
Yes, yes.
As I was trying to argue, patriarchy, or what we think of is male-led societies, in a sense of what we have now, is relatively new.
And the last 12,000 years is what we have with a male-led society. Okay, didn't happen before.
Grave and temperate objections which have been raised against the matriarchal theory of social origins would seem to arise. This is like I said, the idea or the argument that he's proposing is not new. Objections have been raised against the matriarchal theory of social origins would seem to arise largely from the misconception for which the term matriarchy is in part to blame, and which have been rendered more misleading by the manner in which matriarchal theory has been presented in the first instance from a superficial evidence of scattered indications. Matriarchy literally means ruled by the mother, in the same manner that as patriarchy means ruled by the father, and suggests therefore that a matriarchal type of society, the woman exercised domination over the men in a similar equivalent manner to that exercised by men over women in a patriarchal or social order. The two types of social organizations thus differing merely in the sex which wields dominant power in each. The speculations of Baclofen encourage that mis uh, misdominion in the picture of the kingdoms of women or realms of Princess Ida, in which the retrospective parts of sexes were reversed as a topsy-turvy world. That in particularly propitious circumstances, the maternal constitution of primitive human communities has remained preserved in advanced stages of culture and has led through the accumulation of material, has led, in other words, the maternal order has led to the accumulation of material property and political power in the hands of women. To something closely resembling such a gynocratic societies is possible and even probable. Gynocratic societies, okay, even though I coined the term in this space, but as Sir James Fraser justly maintains, such conditions are exceptional cultural curiosities of little significance. To the general history of culture, what on the contrary is of the profoundest significance for that history is that throughout the early stages of culture, it is not matriarchally constituted societies which are the exception, but on contrary, patriarchal constituted societies and families. In other words, patriarchal societies until recently were the exception and not the rule. Almost every variety and degree of feminine influence and power is to be found in the lower cultures or the less advanced cultures. Sometimes considerable as when superstition is invested in the woman, as I've said, with imaginary monopoly of magical and supernatural.
Oh man, supernatural power. The dark feminine, queen, queen mother, matriarch, big mama. Yeah. Is there such thing as a matriarch or big mama in the white community or the Latino community? Is there a big mama? No. There's a grandmother, but there's no big mama, right? Okay, it's Papa, okay? I cited the same page 70, Dark Ghetto, for awareness. I wasn't acknowledged. I found that interesting. Salute BGS, PGS Black Manosphere chat. It's because they don't want to see it, okay? Because they can't. The black woman is gold. Look at I mean, basically, who leads the black churches? Black men or black women? Who dominates the black church, okay? Who dominates black politics? Who dominates the school system? Who dominates the families? Okay? Just because black men earn slightly more than black women doesn't mean shit, okay? Who wields most of the power in the social society of black people? Okay? What he's saying about the elevation of women to deities, okay? No white man's gonna come in, talk about and bow and say hello, queen, to his white woman. Okay, it don't work that way. Anyhow,
powers, sometimes amounting to little more than the status of a social equality with men, whether women do or do not enjoy power and influence in a matriarchally constituted society. Their status is not in those societies defined by the specific disabilities which marks their position in a patriarchally constituted order. In other words, they're not the same. But the constitution of matriarchal societies is not a matter of domination of one sex over the other. It is convenient to continue to use the term matriarchy, which is established by usage, and although it is open to objection, so are other terms such as mother right or matrilineal society, which it has been sought to substitute for it. In other words, they've been arguing over this point, the use of the word, or the misuse of the word for a whole century or more, right? It's the use of the word. Now, the pattern or the society may have been misnamed, okay? And this is what he's arguing. What people are arguing over a name, and they've been arguing over this name for a long time. The accepted term is matriarchy, okay, of the pattern of the cultural phenomenon, how you organize families or societies. They have put this particular name on that pattern. That doesn't mean that the pattern has to conform to the word. If you say matriarchy, no matter what you think the definition should be, this is what it is, right? This is the accepted terminology when people think about a mother right or matrilinear or whatever, right? This is what he's saying. Or the
But matriarchy basically means mother right, okay? Okay? In a patriarchy, if you actually look up the old-fashioned term of a patriarch, right, it's father right, okay? Rights of the father, okay? Rights of the mother, okay? Go back and look at the 10 years doctrine, before 10 years doctrine, right? In 1839, right? Okay, fathers had rights over their children and their families, right? Ultimate rights, okay? That doesn't exist anymore, and never existed in the black community. It never existed in the black community. Black men have never had control over their children, ever, ever, from slavery up until now. The control of the children has always been within the realm of the black woman, okay? Always. Black man couldn't go to court and get his kids, even back in the 19, even in 1906, he couldn't go to court and get his kids. Okay, kids belong to the mother. Thomas Jefferson said that back in 1750. Black kids belong to the black mother. Okay, that is step one, or the biggest factor of whether it's a matriarchy or patriarchy, right? Who has control of the children? Okay. We gave that up in 1839. We still call the West, America, a patriarchy, even though it's not. Okay. Once you gave women two things. You gave them the ability to have their kids, control of the kids, and basically give them the vote. After that, your patriarchy is done.
mere practice of matrilinear.
And all 1960s feminism did was solidify it, okay? All the rights were in favor of the women, okay, which is something they're trying to reverse. Okay, America's not a patriarchy.
Reckoning. In point of fact, there is nothing in the lower phase of culture corresponding to the domination of one sex over the other, which characterizes patriarchal society. In other words, it didn't exist before the relatively modern patriarchal society. There is nothing in the most primitive human societies equivalent to the domination in which in advanced societies is exercised by individuals, by classes, and by rulers, right? The lower cultures are nothing if not equalitarian. The notion of domination is entirely foreign to primitive humanity. The conception of authority is simply not understood. The notion of privileged right has no place and no existence in those phases of culture. In other words, the need for dominating one sex over the other was not needed back then. The notion of privileged right has no place in existence in those phases of culture. When, therefore, the conception of feminine domination and of mother right is regarded as the characteristic of the maternal constitution of a patriarchal social organization, the ideas and principles of patriarchal society are imported into a social state which knows nothing about them. In other words, we're imposing what we think an order should be. And this is not females doing it, these are the males doing it. And actually, the feminism is actually doing the same thing, right? And it can cause no surprise that the result is an improbable monster. Those misconceptions are characteristically instanced by Sir James Fraser's fundamental objection, as he conceives it to be, that chiefs are generally men, okay? The objection loses some of its force when the fact is noted that in none of the lower phases of social organization are there any chiefs in our sense of the term. In other words, there are no kings. In other words, a chief is not a ruler. A chief is simply a ruler. A chief is simply a leader that is picked. So basically, the leader in a hunting...
He's a representative, okay? Your president is a leader, but he's also a representative, right? He has to be nominated by who? By the people, right? Okay. The women nominated who was going to be chief. The women's council did. The men's council didn't do it.
And in war is a man because he must be a hunter and a warrior. But that position entails nothing analogous to what is habitually associated with the power and authority of a ruler. There is no such power and no such authority in the early stages of society. The power of the headman in war or hunting is extremely limited and ephemeral. It is like leadership among animals, purely functional, and no authority attaches to the office apart from its utility to the community. In other words, a leader or chief is pragmatic. They're there for a reason, right? They're there as a function. But rulership and ownership and all that kind of stuff is imposed upon a lower society. You're looking for something that's not there. You're trying to impose a pattern or an order in a primitive, what do you call a primitive society, an early society that's not there. With that position entails nothing analogous to what is habitually associated with power authority of a ruler. There is no such power and no such authority in early stages of society. Power of the headman in war hunting is extremely limited. Oh, wait a minute, I think I did that already. Thus, in Australia, where male domination is fully established and where the influence and authority of the older men is greater than most primitive communities, they have nevertheless no power. Among the Australian Aborigines, there are, properly speaking, no chiefs. The persons called by Europeans headmen are merely such delegates that may act as spokesmen, see that, in intercourse with the white men. In other words, the whole society picks a spokesman to actually speak for the whole. Actually, the whole is very, very democratic, male and female. It is more than doubtful whether any such institution existed before the arrival of Europeans. Where have we heard this before? Europeans, not feminists, but Europeans trying to impose their order, what they think the order is, according to them. Australian headmen have no power to issue commands. They cannot act on their own initiative and personal authority. The collective action of the clan or tribe is governed by the influence of elder men, but there's no formal council. Even in a male-dominated clan, okay, he's saying there's no formal power. There's no formal order. And this is Australia. This is a male-dominated clan where men have outsized influence.
Yeah, which we closer to a patriarchy in ancient culture. Okay, in other words, basically, what he's saying to you is that he's the one actually defining the matriarchy. Okay, I don't know if I can find it. Maybe I can later on in the piece. Let's see. Okay, he's talking about primitive societies. Let's see if I can skip ahead and find some of it. Okay, let's try that one.
That those communities in the nailless authority of the chiefs has been forcibly and arrogantly seized by the men. The women's authority and influence is paramount. They command every means and every avenue of power. Chieftainship is purely functional. What authority is attached to it is exercised over the men, not over the women, and is subject to the will of the latter. It sounds like
it sounds like America today, right?
Fucking black community, does it not? They pick men to check the men, okay?
Yeah, they picked the men to check the men. God damn it, you cannot make this shit up, okay?
The women. That's why you see this shit, right? That's why you see the stuff going on about the black, the black male YouTube sector, right? The black manosphere. It's not women trying to come in and check the men. They're picking other men.
You should be able to find the mothers by Briefald online somewhere, okay?
Come in and check the men. They're picking their leaders to come and check the men. The position of male chiefs in primitive social groups is whether matriarchal, patriarchal, far from constituting it a difficulty as regards the matriarchal theory of social origins. It appears, on the contrary, to be irreconcilable with the hypothesis that human society first arose in groups formed around the authority of a dominant male. See, that's the problem that we're having, the theory of the dominant male. The visionary conception of the primitive patriarchal group dominated by an old male wielding despotic authority is radically incompatible with the equalitarian character which is everywhere in the most conspicuous feature.
I mean, if you think about it, okay, is it the dominant male in the black community, in black society that wields power? I ask you that. Do you see that? Okay. Is it a dominant male that wields? Barack Obama don't wield power in his own fucking family. Who wields the power? Is it Barack Obama or Michelle? He was fucking president of the fucking United States, okay? Of the free world. And his wife talks about him like he's shit. Who wields the? Is it Papa or Big Mama that wields the power in the black family? I ask you. Farrakhan, bullshit. A- ask all those Muslim men, especially the ones in Philadelphia, about who actually wields the power, right? If the women don't come in and push up Farrakhan, okay, in that community, the basically Black Islam would fall. Because the women bring in the money, the women bring in the support, the women do most of the shit. Same thing with the Panthers, right? It's mostly the women. The women wielding power from underneath, okay, and pushing the men out front. It's bullshit. Big Mama had all the power. Basically, uh, go compare Black Islam, okay, Black Muslims to Muslims overseas, and see and tell me the difference. Find an equivalent in Black Muslim in the East versus over here in the United States. Okay. Anyway, anyway, I've gone like an hour and a half, man. I think that's long enough. I'm not gonna hold y'all. But this one is called "A Woman's Role in a Matriarchy." Okay, um, and this comes from Robert Brefault's book. Robert Brefault is considered to be the authority in matriarchy. Okay, in other words, if you want to refer to a matriarchy, what is it, what isn't, what's the patriarchy, what is it, go to his book. Okay, and Islam and East is a real patriarchy. Okay. A stark difference in Nation Islam can never be divorced from the Gynocratic African American right. Man, I mean, I've heard so many Islamic women, Nation Islam women, taking their children from one man to the next. Okay, in Islam, in patriarchal Islam, that is not allowed. Okay, you cannot take my child, my child to another man. You're gonna leave me. I can allow you to leave me. Okay, you can have a kid, but you cannot take my child to another man's house and marry him and keep my fucking kids. Don't work that way. And I know people speak out of their feelings, but you motherfucker read. I'll tell people read. Don't believe me. Read. Okay? I'm reading. Okay? I'm showing you the fucking book. I'm reading. Are you reading? Stop being fucking lazy. Say that to media man. Stop being fucking lazy. Yeah, but brief all this. Basically, what they did was they extracted, I think it was page 20 something about about in nature about the role of the mother versus the male versus the female, and what a lot of your MRAs and MGTOWs pulled that and called it brief false law, but that's where it's from. Okay. And I thought, okay, it should be just a little bitty book. That motherfucker's 1,200 page book, man. If you actually want to read the mothers. Anyhow, let me get out of here. That's why Black American needs to become. They don't have to become Catholic. There's a lot of things they can actually become. They have to become Catholic. Catholics have been. Catholics are actually have been infiltrated with the same kind of feminism. Okay, a lot of your feminism, like Pauli Murray was a Catholic. That's what she came out of. Eleanor Roosevelt was a Catholic. That's what it came out of. Catholic Church is not going to do anything for you. The women sent. I've heard that it was other people. It wasn't them. Okay, it's people that are that bread tubes attached to. That's much bigger. A lot of socialist deep pockets. Anyhow, let me get out of here. But I hope like I said, it would take too long to actually answer Media Man. Okay, about the matriarchy. But the thing is, I can say this, bro. You don't know shit. Straight up, you don't know shit. You're running off at the mouth. You don't know shit. And you guys listen to him and come running to me, and you know the guy don't know shit. So I hope this will actually serve as a resource if you actually want to go back and forth with him. Okay? Because I'm not. Okay? Because it's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my time. Trump will what? You guys are straight cats for real. And I got one thing to say before I leave to people like Media Man, okay?
Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the king, you best not miss.
I think he missed, okay? Anyhow, let me get out of here, folks. I will see you guys. BGS. Oh, BGS, hashtag BGS is tired. That's true. That is very true, man. Man, I've been doing this for 10 years, man. It's like the same thing over again, okay? Which book are you in now, okay? Keep watching, Martin Muhammad, okay? I actually told you what book I was in. Actually showed you the book. I showed you the title, okay? Yeah, like high school player trying to play one-on-one with Kobe. Yep, it would. He doesn't know. That's why I actually ignored him, okay? It's because we've gone over this, and like I said, if you just look at the fucking playlist, okay? Let me show you the playlist real quick, if I can pull it up, okay? On the Gynocracy, just the playlist, okay? I have, basically the playlist has 26 videos, okay, and I've done many more, okay, across channels, okay. If you just look at the playlist, okay, real quick, just look at the playlist. See that? Look at the playlist, okay? That's just the playlist. That's not all of it. That's just stuff I just put together, okay? Okay? There's 26 just in this playlist, okay? And there's more, okay, that I haven't included. There's much more I haven't even included. And these are not small videos, okay? These are 20+ minutes. Sometimes it's damn near an hour. In fact, I've done whole hour and a half lives on fucking Gynocracy and the Matriarchy, okay? Anyhow, we get out of here, y'all. I've held you up long enough. You guys go pregame for your Friday. Thursday night football is probably in the house. I'm sure Snowman will probably be doing the call for it. Forgive us, stray cats, right now. I have to live, y'all my peoples. I have to live with you, okay? Anyhow, let me get out of here, y'all, and I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow, okay?
What can I say? Mamba out.
Muzyka Denis 7.